Luke's Gospel, in Luke's Gospel chapter 19. In Luke's Gospel chapter 19, let's see what Jesus does here. He goes into Jericho. And when he's in Jericho, there's one man who wants to get a glimpse of Jesus. And his name is Zacchaeus. Remember Zacchaeus, a wee little man was he? He's a small guy, and he wants a glimpse of Jesus. So what he does is he jumps up into a tree to get a glimpse of Jesus. Now, he is a tax collector, and tax collectors are not looked upon with favor at all. And so Jesus marches in there, and it says in verse 5 of chapter 19, and when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, he has gone in to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. Doesn't he realize what kind of a man he's going to be a guest of? A sinner. Verse 8, and Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold. So what's Zacchaeus doing? He is releasing. He's going to give back. By meeting Jesus, he understands what Jesus is all about, and he's responding to the message of the Messiah. And Jesus said to him, and it's sort of ironic, he says, Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham. The word Yeshua, the name Yeshua, means salvation. So he's saying, it's kind of a funny little thing in the language, today salvation has come to your house. But then it's the next verse that should blow us away, verse 10. Remember Daniel 7, the Son of Man is the Son of Man. Remember Ezekiel 34. I myself, God, will come and I will seek and search for the lost. And Jesus, in one fell swoop, employs the rabbinic method and says, For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. Bam! And for who? A tax collector. A tax collector. He was a marvelous teacher, a magnificent teacher, who had such a grasp of the Scriptures. In one way, I'm amazed because he learned them. In another way, I'm not amazed because he's God. But he uses these methods, and he uses them so well that even today at Hebrew University in Jerusalem, they marvel at how well he handles the Scriptures. Day. Well, Daniel speaks about it. If we go back to Daniel, in chapter 9 of Daniel, we will see here that Daniel also has more to say to us. And this is really the key to understanding the coming of the Messiah, who is going to heal the blind, release the captives, die for the sins of the world, establish his kingdom that will never end, put in the vicar of Christ like Isaiah 22, have the Queen Mother as established back in the Old Testament, and he will give the Spirit of God to live in every one of us to walk in his commands and open it up to the Gentiles, to the whole world. In chapter 9 and verse 1, it says, In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, by birth a Mede, who became king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, perceived in the books. So Daniel is reading the scrolls. What's he reading? He's reading Jeremiah. He's reading the letter from Jeremiah. I perceived in the books the number of years which, according to the word of the Lord to Jeremiah the prophet, must pass before the end of the desolations of Jerusalem, namely 70 years. So Daniel is saying, okay, according to Jeremiah, we're going to be up here in Babylon for 70 years. According to Isaiah 44 and 45, Cyrus, the king of Persia, is going to allow us to go back down and rebuild the temple. So I know we're going to be here for 70 years. Then, verse 3, Then I turned my face to the Lord God, seeking him by prayer and supplications with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. Now, Daniel is going to be a man that seeks God. He's going to be a man that fills the gap, if you will, and intercedes on behalf of the people, which is interesting because in Ezekiel 22:30, in Ezekiel, the other prophet during this period, God says, I looked for someone to stand in the gap, but I found no one. Well, Daniel is that man. He's in captivity, and he will stand in the gap and pray on behalf of his people. So he is fasting, supplications, prayer. Verse 4, I prayed to the Lord my God and made confession. What's he doing? He's going to confess for the nation. Made confession saying, O Lord, the great and terrible God, who keepest covenant and steadfast love with those who love him and keep his commandments. We have sinned. He's realizing this big time. We have sinned. We have sinned and done wrong and acted wickedly and rebelled, turning aside from thy commandments and ordinances. We have not listened to thy servants the prophets, who spoke in thy name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. To thee, O Lord, belongs righteousness, but to us confusion of face, as at this day, to the men of Judah, to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to all Israel, those that are near and those that are far away, in all the lands to which thou hast driven them, because of the treachery which they have committed against thee.